Hey there, this is Nick with Scent Remix. Welcome back to the channel. Time for another individual fragrance review. And I just felt like kind of dressing up a little bit more today because, some fragrances are so elegant, so classy that, well, you really can't review them in a ratty t-shirt and jeans. And definitely this fragrance today fits that to a T. It is very elegant, very classy, and it just happens to come from one of my top 5 favorite designer houses, Cartier. Well, the thumbnail kind of gave it away, but yes, we are talking about L'envol de Cartier, and I'm going to give you an overview of both of the concentrations, both the EDP and the EDT. That's coming up. Stay tuned. So first off, not only am I impressed with this fragrance itself, but with the House of Cartier as a whole. Of course, they are known for their jewelry, their watches, but in case you weren't aware, they also do a mighty fine job with their fragrances. With the men's line, they have just been able to create some very, like we said at the outset, very classy, elegant, very masculine fragrances, all while maintaining this very modern edge. I would venture to say, out of the 10 or so in my collection, I would only say that maybe Santos smells a little dated, but it's just that type of fragrance. The ingredients, the fact that it was launched back in 1981, but still, I love that one just as much as I love the others. And can we talk just a second about the presentation? Before I ever sniffed the first Cartier fragrance, I was completely sold on the presentation, the bottles especially. Most are very Art Deco inspired, and you're going to find elements in most that make artistic reference to their jewelry and watches, which I think is very appropriate since that is what they are most known for. But I fell in love with the designs, especially the bottle for Declaration. It just reminds me of a very Art Deco-esque skyscraper, like the Chrysler Building in New York, which I personally feel like is probably the most beautiful piece of architecture ever designed in history. But the bottles for Roadster and its flankers are very Art Deco, and of course the frag of the hour, L'envol. So let's talk a little bit about its presentation. So the bottle design for L'envol is a tad more simplistic, but sometimes simplistic can be very beautiful, wouldn't you agree? You just have a very simple round bottle with the metal top. And what I find very clever about this design is that there is no top for this. You just have this piece that rotates up and down to reveal or hide the atomizer. And one of the concentrations, they've also designed the bottle so that it has a removable, refillable capsule that you can take with you on the go. So what about the scent? Because, after all, that is why you are watching this review. Well, L'envol is no exception when it comes to the high quality, very expensive smelling fragrances that Cartier creates. The nose behind L'envol is Mathilde Loren. She is the in-house perfumer for Cartier, and she is responsible for other really good ones like Roadster and also Pasha, the Parfum edition. So L'envol, especially the EDP version, would most likely appeal to men 30 years and over. Even though it does have a more modern feel to it, at the same time, it can come off a little bit more mature. Now, that's not to say that a guy under 30 could not totally pull this off, but they would have to have a certain amount of style, a certain amount of confidence in order to rock L'envol. Again, especially the EDP version. Now, if this had been around when I was a teenager, I would totally have had this in my arsenal, because while everybody else was walking around wearing Aqua de Jo and fragrances like that, I was still sporting like your OG Periellus, your Lapidus Pour Homme, because I just love those type of powerhouse fragrances. So I totally would have loved this one. Now, on the other hand, the Eau de Toilette, I find that to be a little bit more accessible just because of the fact that it is brighter and fresher. So probably that would appeal to a much younger crowd. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the concentrations because I find this to be very interesting. It seems Cartier kind of did this a little bit backwards as far as the way that they release these fragrances. Now, in most cases, a designer house will release their EDT version first, and that will be followed up, of course, by the EDP, which just ends up being a more intense version of the original. But that's not the way that Cartier did it. They released the EDP first in 2016, and then they followed that up the very next year with the EDT in 2017. And the two compositions are very similar, sharing some of the same notes. So indeed they are flankers, but yet they could rightfully be considered standalone fragrances. So being that the EDP was released first, we're going to start with that one as far as talking about the notes and the scent itself. Now I have this in the little capsule size version that I described earlier, where you can actually remove this from the bottle itself to refill and to take with you. And that kind of gives you an indication right there of which I prefer. I have the larger bottle of the EDT while I just have the smaller of the EDP, so it kind of gives it away which one that I like better. But the notes include honey, iris, guaiac wood, musk, patchouli, violet leaf, amberwood, pepper, cedar, lavender, sage, and vetiver. So you can almost imagine, you know, as I was listing those notes, just how soft and creamy and elegant this fragrance truly is. And what I personally love about this one, of course, is the honey. That is the star player here, let me tell you. And it does push its way to the front of the stage, but the way that the supporting notes really come in, it really creates magic in this fragrance. And you know with that iris note that you're going to get guaranteed elegance, but it doesn't come off the same way that it does in like your Valentino Uomo Intense or your OG Dior Homme line. It doesn't really smell lipsticky or cosmetic, but you can detect it, and it just kind of envelops the fragrance itself. It floats around, envelops the fragrance with just that understated elegance and class. And then you have the sweet woodsy elements that are provided by the cedar, the guaiac wood, the amber wood, and then definitely you know that vetiver is there, just kind of floating around in this very beautiful concoction. Although this would not be considered a gourmand fragrance by any means, it does still have kind of an edible quality to it, but I think that's just because of that nice creamy honey note that is in this. Now, occasions to wear. I believe that I would reserve this strictly for maybe suit and tie type of occasions. Not necessarily formal, but you could. It would definitely fit in with that type of setting. Maybe even nice sport coat, open collar shirt, nice pair of slacks, bit tassel Ferragamos. Yeah, I think you would definitely get noticed wearing that type of ensemble along with the Cartier L'Envol EDP. I would think that this would be better suited for your milder weather, maybe even evening wear. I would tend to stay away from maybe the extreme heat. I just don't know that it would do very well in the heat. Now the Eau de Toilette version. The notes for the EDT are much on the lighter side. You still retain the honey, the guaiac wood, and the musk, but you're taking out a lot of notes and you're adding artemisia and citruses. So you can only imagine from that description that this is definitely going to be a much brighter, fresher version of the original. But still, being that both concentrations revolve around that honey and also the gaiac, it just makes it a very nice palette off which to work. And so definitely this is to be considered a flanker, but at the same time, and I did mention this earlier, I feel like that they are different enough where they could be their own standalone fragrances. Now, I, again, just happen to prefer the EDT for the reasons I just mentioned, because it is a much brighter, fresher version. And that being said, it does make it the more versatile of the two. It's just easier to wear. So occasions to wear the EDT. I would wear this one anytime. It's that versatile of a fragrance. From casual to dressy casual. So think the outfit that I mentioned earlier, the sport coat and shirt. Trade out the heavier sport coat for maybe a linen blend, because of course that's going to wrinkle less. Crisp white shirt, pair of jeans, same bit tassel Ferragamos, but this time sun socks. Along with the L'envol EDT, you'll be good to go. So in conclusion, I would have to rank these in my collection to be a 10 out of 10. Well, okay, 9.9, 10. Because I just find these to be so unique. I don't have anything like them in my collection, and quite frankly, I have not smelled anything personally that comes close to these creations, especially with the particular notes that they have, like the honey. These will probably be in my collection forever, especially the EDT, or as long as they happen to be available, as long as I can get them. You know, these were the first that I smelled where I made the definitive statement that if I had to give up every other fragrance in my collection and I could only keep one to have as a signature scent, it would be L'envol. So if you like these type of fragrances, classy, sophisticated, unique, I would really recommend you giving L'envol a try. I would recommend it very highly. But start with the EDT. Start with that one, and you may find that it's the only one that you need in your collection. But be sure and sample the EDP at least sample it, because you could find, like I did, that you can't live without that one either. So I hope that you have enjoyed this review and that it's been maybe a little educational, maybe even a little inspirational, where you are now determined to run out and give this beauty a try. And if that's the case, that's amazing. But as always, I really appreciate you stopping by and watching the videos, and hope to see you around for the next one. In the meantime, please take care, stay safe. We'll see you.